Hey guys, it's Leo, and today I'm here to talk about season 2 of She-Ra and the Princesses of Power. If you haven't watched this season yet, this video is probably going to be full of spoilers because I am going to comment on, my feelings towards what happened in season 2, and I'm very honest here. I don't know how to do that without actually saying what happened, so I'm sorry. If you haven't watched this video, please skip it, or if you don't care about spoilers, let's talk. This season started right when the first one ended, and this was a shorter season with only 7 episodes, and I felt that this season was just a build up for the next one. I think that the next one will be way bigger and more epic than this one was. But even though it was kind of a build up, it was still a very nice season. But I thought that this season had a very slow start. This time we have a different horde because now Shadow Weaver lost her position to Catra, and Catra is now a leader, but the big villain is finally Hordak, who was the main villain, I think, in the original She-Ra. So now Hordak, the big leader of the horde, now took the position of an actual leader, and he's there. Also in the horde, there's Entrapta working with them, who is a big asset. She was already working with the horde in season 1, but now she's full-time with them. At the same time, on the other side, we have the Princess Alliance working together again, and the first episode kicked off with the Princess Alliance fighting and working together, but I felt that they had like a very strange take on the characters. It felt like they got the worst aspects of each personality to show in this first episode, and to show how the characters, how the princesses are kind of like very eccentric, and not in a good way. They don't really care about for what they're doing. They just want to fight, and they just want to use their powers and without actually thinking about the consequences, or creating a technique or a special something for the fight. I felt like characters like Perfuma in this season, they were very different from season 1. Even though Perfuma was always a little crazy, she never had her mind in the right place. But in this season specifically, I think that they went full on with her craziness without actually understanding what's going on around her. And I particularly didn't like that. And we also had Frosta very close to Glimmer, actually trying to be very close to Glimmer. And it was interesting, right at the first episode, seeing all of the princesses and Beau using their powers and trying to gather more information on the horde and everything. But I felt like and the way they fought was very nice, but their personalities and the way they interacted with each other wasn't nice at all. But I feel like Frosta was being very irritating towards Glimmer. I felt very irritated by her, but I liked what happened to Frosta's character and to Glimmer's character as well, because the Frosta we saw in season 1 was someone without friends, and she had no relationship with other people. And now that she has a friend, or at least she thinks she has a friend, she's trying to connect in a way. She doesn't know how. She doesn't know how to do that, but she is trying. She is trying hard to actually, make a connection with Glimmer, and that was very nice. And I think that Glimmer was the highlight of season 2. She's super strong now. The way she's fighting is way more interesting than in season 1. She is like the big star of season 2, in my opinion. Glimmer girl, you now are my favorite, because I think that in season 2, her character gained more levels, if we can say like that. And so I think that until episode 3, the start was very slow. It felt like the season was still starting, and we had the fact that the Princess Alliance learned that Entrapta was captured and was being kept by the horde. And in those episodes, they learned that it was not exactly like that. And this season also gave us a little bit more insight on who Entrapta is and how she thinks, and the process of her mind, because she's working with the villains. And I think there was even a scene where Beau talked to her like, come on, aren't you going to realize what you're doing and how you're putting everybody in danger? And she doesn't really care about that. She just wants to study. She just wants to be the scientist that she is, and she wants to discover new things. And it wasn't possible for her in the Princess Alliance. Now it is possible for her in the Horde. So she doesn't really think of the consequences of her actions. And I think that that's kind of strange, but I do understand where her character stands now. Doesn't mean that I like it, but I do understand. And then we had a little bit more connection between Shira or Adora and Swiftwind, who's her unicorn, Pegasus, I don't know, her horse. And we had a little moment between them. Swiftwind is a very funny character. I like him a lot. I like his voice specifically, and he's very funny. And we also had a lot of focus on Scorpia. Scorpia now feels very close to who Catra is, and she's always trying to be closer and closer to Catra, but she always fails. She is a big disaster. She's like those big, strong characters who are very, very kind at heart, and it's very interesting to think of those characters being part of the Horde. You know, it humanizes them a little bit more, but at the same time, I don't know if it makes them dumb or oblivious to what the Horde is actually doing and how destructive they are. But I actually think that Scorpia is a very naive type of character, and she doesn't really understand all of the implications of what's going on. And I don't think she knows any better. She doesn't know anything different. And I think that in episode 2, I think when the girls were fighting and Glimmer was fighting against Catra and Scorpia with Bow, and that was a very interesting moment. There was a very interesting conflict. I liked that moment a lot. But I think the highlight of season 2 was episode 4. This is the best She-Ra episode, like, so far. And it was very good, you know, the RPG setting, and then creating strategies to go in and try to stop the Horde. That was a very nice moment. I feel like that was the best episode of She-Ra so far. I liked all of the references to the original She-Ra, even though I'm not I'm an original She-Ra fan, but I really liked how they did this callback to them, and also how each of the characters saw Catra in a different way, and there were lots of different versions of Catra. That was very nice as well. And so I thought that episode was the best. We had the characters, coming in, and the characters, trying to do something and trying to, create strategies and everything, and they wanted to be part of the strategy building. That was awesome. But ultimately, the action in this episode was also great, and the interaction between the characters was also amazing. This season, we also learned about Shadow Weaver and her story as Light Spinner. I thought that her story was very interesting. Light Spinner as a character is very interesting, and I love her voice actor. I think that she does like a stupendous job. And it was very interesting to see where her character started to where her character is now. But at the same time, I felt that it was kind of strange because when she was Light Spinner, it felt like she wanted freedom. She wanted to do whatever she wanted with her powers. And there was something holding her back. Those sages were holding her back, and she couldn't do whatever she wanted to do with her power. And then she was took by that dark power. And, well, I think that the logic thing for her character was going to be, to be a free villain. But no, she went to the Horde by her own will. And she got under Hordak's wing, and she stayed there, just under his wing and doing whatever he wanted her to do. So I felt like, okay, her transition to being like a hero to a villain, that's understandable, and her quest for freedom and power was also understandable. That's relatable if you think about it. But, I felt like her going to the Horde and not being free and not being the controller of her own self was very strange. It was very strange. It didn't really match the story they tried to tell. And it didn't really match season 1 Shadow Weaver. But, her breaking free from Catra, the way she thought of a plan and the way she used Catra emotionally, it was also very nice. I loved that moment. And then and now she's free. She's going after Shira, and I'm very interested to see where this is gonna go, because like now there are two different forces going against Shira, like the Horde and Shadow Weaver. I hope Shadow Weaver doesn't work with the Horde anymore, and we have different villains and different threats, so that the Princess Alliance has to go against, or actually Shira, because I don't know if Shadow Weaver wants anything to do with the Princess Alliance. And then this season also brought us a little bit more Catra. Catra is still the same. She's still very angry, and she feels heavily that Adora left her, and that Adora abandoned her to be something else, and she can't go out. She can't leave where she is. Like, I think that emotionally she can't leave where she is, because that's where she feels she belongs, and then she tries to do anything to impress Hordak. I feel like Catra's nature, I wanted Catra to be this type of anti-villain, anti-hero that ends up being on the villain side for a bit, and then she realizes that she is not exactly a villain, but she's not exactly a hero either. But with Catra, I don't know if there's room for them to do this anymore, because she is like going deeper and deeper into being a villain each and every action she takes. So she is deeper and deeper becoming more and more and more of a villain, and I don't know if that's the right direction to go with Catra. I mean, Catra is such a charismatic character. We all want her to be on Shira's side at some day. You know, we all want her and Adora to connect again, even though like there's a lot of heartbreaking in this process. Both of them have their heart broken by each other. Did I make any sense? But I feel like that's a thing about Catra. Like I believed that she could have been an anti-hero, but now she's more and more of a villain. She is closer than ever before on actually being a villain, and you know that is hurtful for me, because I didn't want that for Catra at all. But what can we do, right? And what else? What else did we have in this season? Oh, this season ended with episode 7, which was also a great episode. I think that episode 7 was like the second best episode of Shira from every time, because so far, up until episode 6, we didn't know much about Bo. We didn't know much about where he came from, or who his character really is, or his background and everything. And then we learned everything in episode 7. First thing to notice is that Bo has 2 dads. That is, like, I can't even say. That is so bold of Shira to do, and so important of Shira to do. I felt like that was such a beautiful episode and so nice representation. You know, 2 black dads, and they're so lovey-dovey with each other. I loved them as a couple. Oh my god, they were so cute, and I feel like sometimes I wish that I had this type of relationship, because they are amazing together. I really wish that one day I could find someone like that. And well, honestly, I believe that episode 7 gave us a lot of insight on who Bo is and who his family thinks he is, and you know, the disconnection between those two things. And it was funny. It was a funny episode with Glimmer and Adora trying to fit in, but then they couldn't. They had to break away and, you know, become who they really are and show who they really are. Even Bo had to show who he really is. And that's a very interesting allegory if we think that usually one of the things people have to hide is their sexuality. And in a family like Bo's, that's something that he shouldn't have to hide, and he doesn't. But he has to hide other things, or his real intentions and what he really likes, because that's not what his parents expect of him. And that's a very understandable thing. Sometimes we hide things we don't want our parents to know about us. And even though in Bo's case, that's something big, that's something that defines a person. And, you know, the way he came out to his parents, it was so emotional, and it was so nice, because I cried at that moment, because I felt I understood it. I understood where Bo was coming from, and the support he gave, the support he received from his parents, brilliant. And then we had another nice moment at the end, because I feel like I'm talking about character development and how the characters are presented, but there's the whole plot of the first ones and everything that's been going on behind the scenes, what the Horde wants to do, the Princess Alliance, what they need to defend. And now they are discovering more and more about Mara, about the origin of She-Ra, the origin of their powers. And I think that all of seasons haven't had lots of those build-ups, you know, not only with the characters and who they are, where they stand now, but with the build-ups they're trying to achieve, you know. They're trying to achieve something, and the story is now full mode because they are learning lots of things about the origin of the world they live in and what happened, what's really going on. That's also something that's very interesting. Because season 3 is very close. Season 3 is starting in August. So it's very close. So like I think they did season 2 shorter so that we could have like shorter periods of time between seasons. And that's amazing. Because She-Ra and the Princesses of Power is a gorgeous series. And I am loving every single minute of it. I am having lots of fun. And I'm very excited for season 3. Season 2 was also very good. I think that season 1 was still the best season, even though season 2 had the two best episodes, who were 4 and 7. But you know, overall, a great, great, great season. And one more thing. The season ended abruptly. It felt like it was just a simple episode. And I felt like it didn't really feel like a season finale, you know? It just felt like a normal episode ending with a very big cliffhanger. And now I'm angry. Anyways, guys, that was my view on season 2 of She-Ra and the Princess of Power. Please leave your comment and let's keep our talk. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, bye bye!